Okay, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasul al-Kareem. I do hope everyone's well, hope you can hear me clearly. My apologies for not making last week's lesson. I was a little bit busy, but I think Tawqir took it. Alhamdulillah, let's make a start, inshallah, and crack on. So again, we continue with Salah. We're nearly at the end of Salah, maybe 2 or 3 lessons to go, inshallah, then we'll complete that. So let's begin. And so today we're going to look at what happens when you're late for Salah. So what happens when you're late for Salah? Then we'll look at, and we started last week looking at the month of Muharram and the Islamic New Year. We'll then look at an incident in the cave of Thawr, and then we've had a couple of questions, so we'll go through them, inshallah. Okay. So, Salah. So first of all, Tawqir finished off on praying behind an Imam. Okay, so when you pray behind an Imam, we covered the additional reward that you get. Can anyone remember what's the additional reward for praying behind an Imam or praying in Jama'at? Can anyone remember that? So last time we covered how much extra reward do you get if you're able to pray in Jama'at. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, good, 27 times, yeah. There's a couple of different hadiths, but 27 times is commonly said. So really, it's very, very important to try and make an effort to pray in Jama'at. Even if you can't make it to the mosque, then praying at home in Jama'at carries additional reward, inshallah, so that's very good. Just continuing then. So we're saying, in terms of praying behind an Imam, excuse me. So we're looking at straightening the rows, inshallah, and closing the gaps, okay? So we see that when standing in the rows for prayers, we talked about the importance of standing close to one another, but it's also important that the rows are straight and there are no gaps between people. So the Prophet ﷺ said, make the rows straight and do not differ, let least your hearts differ. So part of the correct Salah is making sure the rows in Salah are straight, okay? And in another hadith in Bukhari, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, or rather he used to straighten our rows as if we were straightening the shaft of an arrow. And that's really important. If you think of an arrow, it has to be straight in order to deliver its objective. If the arrow isn't straight, it's not going to achieve its target. So it's an interesting analogy. So, as if he was straightening the shaft of an arrow until he saw that we had learned it. So he kept on repeating until we learned it. Then he came out one day and was about to say takbir when he noticed a man whose chest was sticking out from the row. He said, slaves of Allah, make your rows straight or Allah will cause discord amongst you. So part of the completeness of Salah is keeping the rows straight. So often when the Imam starts the prayer, he says, close the gaps and keep the rows straight. So he reminds us of doing that fact, basically. So what do you think? And then for those people that, particularly for the boys that obviously attended, or I'm sure have attended the mosque in Jamaat, what is there on the ground that helps us to keep the rows straight? From a practical point of view, what is there on the ground when we go particularly in a mosque that helps us to keep the rows straight? Yeah, okay, good. Carpet, that's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But on the carpet, as a couple of others have said, there's lines, isn't there, or aren't there? So there are lines on there, and either in the form of like a masalla or a prayer mat, or just somebody puts lines there using tape or something. So you're absolutely correct. There is carpet, and it does assist us. But particularly on the carpet, there are lines on there. And then what everyone tends to do is to put their heels on the line. So put the back of your heels onto the line. So if everyone does that, if you imagine you're standing, and there's people, and everyone's obviously of different height, aren't they? But if everyone puts their heels onto the line, it means everyone's backs are straight, basically, or next to each other. So they're level. So the backs will be level if your heels are level. So again, when you come to the mosque, do try and stand, keep your rows straight, keep them tight. Obviously at the moment with COVID, we have to ensure there's spaces in between one another so we don't have that tightness as such, but we should still try to keep our rows straight, inshallah. So the rules about praying behind the Imam include keeping the rows straight and closing the gaps, but not so much now in the time of COVID. Okay, let's continue. Continue with praying behind an Imam. So we see in the next slide, we have to follow the Imam and not precede him, not go before the Imam, and that's important. So it's particularly important that the Imam is followed and that all of the actions of the prayer, bracket with the exception of saying Ameen, occur after the Imam. without preceding or going before the Imam and without lagging behind him. So so the hadith is, hadith in Bukhari, the Imam has been made to follow. When he says Allahu Akbar, then you say Allahu Akbar. When he bows, then bow. When he says Sami Allahu liman hamida, then say Rabbana walakal hamd. When he prostrates, then prostrates. If he prays sitting like tashahhud, then pray sitting all together. So it's really clear that the Imam is there to be followed. And sometimes I've been in the mosque and the Imam hasn't said Allahu Akbar, the takbir al-ula, the first takbir, and already people have raised their hands to their chest or their ears, right? And that's wrong because the Imam hasn't said Allahu Akbar, he hasn't raised his hands, and already people are like, it's like as if you're in a race and they kind of got their hands already and he hasn't even said Allahu Akbar yet. And that's wrong. The Imam is there to be followed. He's the one in front. Imam means the one in front. He's in front. You're supposed to follow him, but don't lag behind either. So he says Allahu Akbar, or he goes into ruku, and you're still calmly standing there, and he's getting back up on, and you haven't gone to ruku yet. That's wrong. Okay. So as soon as he says move, and as soon as he moves, immediately after that, you follow him, inshallah. Okay. So if he's quicker, you have to go quicker, etc., etc. So we have to follow the Imam and behind the Imam and not precede him. Okay. So far we've completed the section now on praying behind the Imam. So we've talked about the position of the Imam, we've talked about the keeping the rows straight, we've talked about not having any gaps, and we've talked about not preceding the Imam. Okay, now let's look at lateness and making up the prayer. Okay, so before we come on to that, what's the rules about arriving on prayer? So if you're late, are you allowed to come rushing and charging into the prayer because you're late for the salah? That's the question. Are you allowed to come rushing and charging into the salah because you're late? What's the answer? Or how should you arrive at the mosque? Okay, no, and he said absolutely right. So he must still walk like normal. Good. He shouldn't disturb the salah. Very good, very good. And you have to join the end of the line and are to make it very good, Shakir. So you've all hit it. You have to be quiet. Excellent. So you're all correct. So what you're not supposed to do is to come rushing, charging in, barging up people, disturbing the row, or if you're not driving, or as an adult who's driving the car, you're causing danger, you're speeding up, you're revving, I've got to make it to the mosque. No, you don't do that. In the hadith of the Prophet says, whoever comes to the prayer, let him come like in a measured manner. And whatever he catches of the prayer, he catches. Whatever he misses, he makes up. It's as simple as that. We all know the time of the prayer. And so we come in a calm, not leisurely, but in a calm manner. That's the wording I would use, calm, measured manner. And I still remember many, many years ago, there was an incident where I came to a mosque. Some of you have probably been there, Masjid Abu Bakr. Okay, yeah, Hassan, I'll come to your point in a second. So I came to Masjid Abu Bakr to pray the Salah, and there was a brother who came, and he'd come from a foreign country. And in those countries, people are a bit more just rush. And so anyway, so what he did, he parked his car right across the pavement, literally across the pavement. So obviously the cars there's no gap to park your car in front of the mosque on the road, because obviously other cars, but there's just enough of a gap that if you can put the front of your car in, you can. You can't put it sideways. So that's what he did. He brought the front of his car in. So obviously he's off the road, but clearly by bringing the front of his car in, his car's right in front of the pavement. And that's really wrong. Because obviously you imagine if anybody, Muslim, is walking across the pavement and you can't walk across because the car parked in front of it, what's that person's impression going to be of the mosque? Very negative, right? So, this brother's a very good brother. I mean, I think just because in the environment that he was used to doing it, it was kind of considered okay. Once we explained to him, he never did it again. But the rule being, you come in a calm, measured manner. So Hassan's saying a point. There are lots of young boys in the mosque who sit at the back and then rush to join Salah before Sami Allahu liman hamida. Very right, you're right. And I think, Hassan, you mean particularly in Ramadan and Taraweeh time. So not so much in other Salahs, to be fair. I think you'll agree with me. But in Ramadan, people are tired. And so what they do, they sit at the back. And when the time for Sami Allahu liman hamida comes, they rush. And that's actually wrong, because we'll cover this point in a minute. They have to make it for the ruku. And if they get there for Sami Allahu liman hamida, then they miss the ruku. But we'll come to that in a second. But so just on that point, you know, sometimes if you're praying Tarawih and you're very late and tired, it is permissible to miss out to, and it is permissible to come and pray just to catch it, but you shouldn't do it every time. And I think I take your point, Hassan. Sometimes people are doing it every time, and when they're coming, they're disturbing people, and that's wrong, really. Okay, so you know, like I said, in Ramadan, you don't have to pray all the Tarawih. Sometimes you're tired, you can miss it, but it's rude if you do that. Okay, very good, Aiden. So you're asking a question. Is it true that Salah should be shortened in congregation if they are young children? Example, doing shorter surahs. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he came to lead Salah. He says, I come to lead prayer and I intend to do long surahs and I hear a baby crying in the background, so I shorten my surahs, so not to cause discomfort. So again, that is part of the perfection of good manners of Salah. But again, that, you know, the Salah surah should still be reasonable, but it shouldn't be like you start reciting Al-Baqarah because the kid's going to be screaming, disturbing, particularly the mother, the child is going to inconvenience. So obviously the rest of the people are going to feel disturbed. So, you know, it is the sunnah in praying in Jamaat just to shorten the prayer so as not to cause disturbance to the child or to others. Okay, so that's good, guys. Let's carry on. So we mentioned the point about not preceding the Imam. Sorry, we're talking about being late. So the slide is moving. So let's talk about how to join the congregational prayer late. So you come, right, and you're late for the Salah. Okay, so the most important thing in joining the congregational prayer late is that you should perform the Takbir al-Ihram, okay, the opening Takbir. Without this, the prayer is not valid. So let's just understand that. So before during the action which the Imam is doing, you should stand in the appropriate place, raise your hands to shoulder or ear levels, and say Allahu Akbar. So you come in, and you come in a measured way, you come to the end of the row, that's fine, and the people are in sajda, for example. So you don't go in and go straight into sajda. You stand there, you say Allahu Akbar, you raise your hands to chest or ears, and then continue with the paragraph. You should immediately join the Imam in the action that he's doing. So if he is prostrating on sajda, you should immediately do sajda without doing any of the actions that came before. You should not wait for the Imam to move or wait for him to stand, as some people do. So is that clear? So you come late to the prayer, okay? The Imam is in sajda, you come, you stand up first of all, you say Allahu Akbar, do your Allahu Akbar and straight into sajda. You don't stop and go to ruku, you go straight into sajda. So Allahu Akbar and into sajda. Okay, so we kind of understood that, hopefully, inshallah. So now let's see the scenario. There's only one person praying. So you come to the mosque, okay, and it's Zuhr time. And so now it's Jamaat's time, but like it could be a small mosque and there's only one person praying. So if there's one person praying and you want to join the prayer, it's important that the person knows and accepts they're going to lead you in prayer. The simplest way to achieve this is to tap them gently on the shoulder so they're aware that they're going to be leading someone in prayer. So, you know, you go up to them, he's praying by himself, just tap him on the shoulder and you stand next to him, basically, right? Don't grab his shoulder and jerk him. Don't, you know, remember he's in prayer, just tap him on the shoulder so he knows that you're praying, okay? Evidence, I stayed overnight with my maternal aunt. The Prophet ﷺ, this is one of the companions saying, got up to pray at night. I got up to pray with him. I stood on his left. He took hold of my head and made me stand on his right. So this is important. If there's two people, the Imam stands on the left. Okay, so the Imam stands on the left, the other person on the right, slightly behind, inshallah, to give him space. Okay, so just 1 second. Aiden is actually Bilal Khalik. Okay, right. Thank you, Aiden. Right. What happens if they don't understand and take it wrong? Okay. I mean, it's a good point, Anisa. You know, I think they shouldn't take it wrong. Most people who come to the mosque, they are aware and they've seen it. You know, that people do tap you gently on the shoulder. But you know, I take your point. So let's say, for example, now, right, it's Zohr's time, and so you know, you tap someone on the shoulder and you've come to his right hand side. So now you're assuming that he knows you expect him to lead the prayer, but he doesn't say anything. So he goes into, says, does the Surah Fatiha, he doesn't say Allahu Akbar and goes into ruku. And he doesn't say Sami Allahu liman hamida. Then you can't pray. You just carry on praying on your own, basically, because for him to be leading, he needs to be saying the words, essentially, so you can follow him. Okay, because that's part of the conditions of prayer. The Imam has to say out loud, Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman hamida, etc., etc. As-salamu. He doesn't do any of that. then really you just carry on praying on your own. Just maybe, you know, slightly step away slightly and you carry on your own, inshallah. But like I say, it's rare. Most of the times the imam should know, especially if you tap him basically. But if for whatever reason he doesn't feel comfortable and he doesn't want to, and you realize that he's not, you know, doing it out loud, then you slightly step away and you just carry on praying your own, no issue whatsoever, inshallah. Okay. Okay, carrying on. So now we understand there's two people, tap them slightly on the shoulder, and the imam is on the left, and the person, the musalli, is on the right, inshallah. Okay, so we've kind of got that. Good. So let's move on now, and let's say there's three people praying. Okay, guys. So as mentioned, the arrangement of the prayers: two people stand next to each other, and three people stand with the imam in front. If two people are praying and you wish to join them, simply tap the person who's following the imam on the shoulder, and they will move backwards in their prayer to form a row behind the imam. Right? So come on, let's follow this through. There's two people, okay? You come in, you know the imam is on the left, you go to the person on the right, and you just literally just tap him on the shoulder. He should then move back, right? He should then move back, and then that's it. And then you make a couple of steps backwards, and you pray together, and off you go, basically. Right. Now, he doesn't move back. Okay, so then what can happen is the imam can slightly move forward. The imam slightly moves forward, and then you come to the side again, and then so you're behind the imam. The important thing is that imam should be in front, basically. If there's three of you, the imam must be in front. Does that, you know? So you tap the person on the right. What should happen? He should move backward. You two are behind him. Job done. He doesn't move back. The imam should step forward, and you two are still behind him. Job done. It's not hard and fast, you know, but these are the general rules, basically. So again, you tap them in a modest way, and he should understand what to do. I think Anissa, you was asking, what happens if they don't understand that and take it wrong? I mean, like I say, you know, you just ultimately just try your best with people, and then afterwards you can explain to them, but in the right way. And you know, you explain with manners and hikmah and wisdom, but you know, but most people do understand tapping on the shoulder is commonly done in the mosque. But like I say, the tapping should be done, you know, in a moderate manner. Okay, good. Okay. So now we're talking about how many rakats do you make up, and there's a golden rule here, because people do get confused a lot. When joining the imam late, it's important to count the number of rakats that you pray with the imam so that you know how to make up, how many to make up. Okay, that's very important. So you come in late, and obviously imams, for example, in Sajda, you don't know what rakat he's on, obviously, but you've got to work it out, and you should, because you'll know whether it's Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib. So you know how many rakats has to be done, and then you have to work out how many rakats have I prayed with the imam. So a rakat is counted as long as you catch the imam in ruku, the bowing position, or before. So if you come into the masjid and the imam is bowing, ruku, and you say the opening takbir, we've covered that, and you join the imam in the bowing position, this rakat is counted as a full unit of prayer, even though you may have missed a part of it. Hadith, whoever does not catch up with the imam when he's bowing has not caught up with that rakat. So you understand? So your imam's in standing up, you join him, fine, you've caught that rakat. Imam's in ruku, saying Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, you catch him, you're able to say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim and bow down, you've caught that rakat. Even though you missed al-Fatiha, it doesn't matter. You've prayed that rakat. But the imam is now standing up and saying Sami Allahu liman hamdah, or any point after that is doing so, you haven't caught that rakat. You haven't caught it. You have to make that rakat up. Okay? So I hope that's pretty clear. So it's quite easy. If you catch the ruku, you caught the rakat. Okay, question from Zahib. Let's look at this. If the person not in congregation is reading silently and they are tapped, do they need to start reading loudly? Yeah, so you're praying by yourself, okay, and you're praying by yourself, and you're praying, let's say it's Zuhr time, okay, and you're praying compulsory, your farz for Zuhr. Somebody taps you, then you realize, okay, this person is expecting me to be imam now. Then from that point onwards, you start praying out loud. So you say Allahu Akbar, you say Sami Allahu liman hamidah. If it's Isha, then you start reciting out loud, etc. So yes, so you do start reciting loudly if you're praying your farz salah. Okay, gets a bit technical. So let's say, Zohaib, you're praying your sunnah salah. So you're now praying your 4 rakat of sunnah. someone taps you in the back and you realize because they want to pray congregational salah, you just carry on praying your sunnahs basically. Okay, so you don't have to, that person realize that really you're not praying your farz salah and they'll do their own thing, inshallah. Okay, so I hope that makes it clear. Okay. Okay, so go back to the point. If you catch up with the imam when he's bowing, remember this, if you catch the ruku, you've caught the rak'ah. So it kind of rhymes, doesn't it? If you catch the ruku, you've caught the rak'ah. Just remember that as a golden rule, okay, if you're coming late. Now, how to make up the missing rak'ah? You must follow the imam in everything he does. So now you came to the mosque, right? And you caught the imam, and let's say it's Zuhr time, okay? And let's say, as an example, we've caught him on his first tashahhud, at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu, so on the second rakat, okay? So if you do that, and it's Zuhr time, how many rakat have you prayed with the imam? So it's Zuhr time, you come in, and the imam is doing the first tashahhud, at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu. He doesn't do Allahumma, and he stands up basically. You come in and you pray at-tahiyyatu with him, and you stand up with him. How many rakat have you prayed with the imam? Abdullah saying 2. I've got another 2. Anybody else? Anybody differ from 2? Okay. None. Okay, 4. No, you guys, you're not understanding this, right? So no. It's important we start here. No. So too many of you are saying none and 4. So this is wrong. Remember, it's Zuhr time. It's Farz Salah. There's the imam, and he's praying. You come in, and he's doing at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu. You join him on that, okay? He doesn't do the Durood Allahumma salli ala. He stands up then, okay? So now, that obviously he was on his second rakat, wasn't he? The imam was on his second rakat because he did at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu. He didn't do the Durood Allahumma salli. He stood up. So he's prayed 2, right? You've caught those 2 rakat with him basically, right? You prayed. So that he's done 2 rakat, so that means you've done 2 more basically. So you catch 2 rakat with him. So he's done 2, stands up, he prays 2 more. Agreed? You all agree on that? And so you caught 2 more rakat with the imam. So 2 more times in rakat 3 and in rakat 4, he will do ruku, you will do ruku with him. So you've prayed 2 rakat with the imam. Okay, so follow that through. It's Zuhr time. He's done at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu. That's his. So obviously he's done 2. He stands up. You pray 2 more with him. So you do 2 more rukus with him. So you've done 2 rakat with the imam. So you've prayed 2. Okay. One more situation. You come in, and it's Maghrib time. Okay, and the imam is on the ruku of the first rakat, and you join him. He's on the ruku of the first rakat, and you join him. He goes and he does sajda, and he stands up for his second rakat. He does alhamdulillah out loud, etc. How many rakats have you prayed with the imam? So it's Maghrib time. Okay, it's Maghrib time. You've caught him on his first ruku. Okay, so I've had a couple of 1s, and I've had a 3, and I've had a couple of 2s. Samaya saying you've done all 3. So I've had a 1 and a 2. Come on, guys. Come on. Right, okay. Listen, what we said was that if you catch the ruku, you've caught the rakah. Right, agreed? So now, it's Maghrib time. It's the first rakat. He goes into ruku, and obviously you've joined him in ruku. So you now say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim with him in ruku. So you prayed that first one with him. Agreed? Yeah. So remember, then obviously he completes the first rakat. He does sajda. He stands up again. He does his second rakat. It's Maghrib. Let's say he does Al-Fatiha and Ad-Nas. He does a second ruku. You join him again. Obviously you're with him now. So you've done 2 with him. Does at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu, stands up again for third rakat, does just al-Fatiha, alhamdulillah, goes and you caught him again. So you've now prayed 3 rakat with the imam. You've prayed 3 rakat with the imam. How many rakats do you need to make up? Next question. How many rakats do you need to repeat after him now? 0. Well done. Because it's Maghrib and it's 3, and you prayed 3 with him. So I hope you've understood that. I hope you've understood that. We'll do one more example. It's Isha time. It's Isha time, right? And you come in and the Imam is standing up, okay, and he's quiet. So obviously now he's on rakat 3 or 4 because first rakat 1 or 2 are obviously loud. So you know that, right? So fine. He's standing up, okay, it's quiet. He goes into ruku, you go into ruku. He stands up, Samuel, you stand up. He does sajda, you do sajda. And then immediately he does attahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu. Okay? So now, I'll repeat it again. It's Isha time, you come to the mosque. Imam is standing. He's quiet. It's Isha, he's quiet. You join him in the standing, you join him in the ruku, you join him in sajda. Immediately after sajda, he does attahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu. How many rakats have you prayed with the Imam? That's the question. Okay, right. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. No, guys, it's 1. It's 1. It's 1. No, I've had a 3 now. Okay, struggling a little bit here. Sumaya, well done. It's 1. It's 1, guys, because look, Isha is 4 rakats. Yes, we understand that, right? You've caught the Imam, and you know he's standing up. Okay. And it's quiet, so it's got to be on 3 or 4. You work that out, right? Okay, fine. He does his ruku, no problem. He does Sami Allahu liman. You're joining. Remember, you caught the ruku now. You've caught some. You caught the sajda. Then immediately he does attahiyatu wa salawatu. You know, and then he does the salam. Okay, so obviously he's got to be on his 4th because the fact that it was quiet was either 3 or 4. The fact that he did the attahiyatu straight after sajda means it's got to be the 4th rakat, right? It's got. So he was on the 4th rakat. You've caught the Imam's 4th rakah. So you've caught 1 rakah with the Imam. 1 rakah with the Imam. Okay, guys? Okay, so fine. I think we've got that. Okay, so the key to making up the missing number of rakat is construct the number that you have prayed. And then that to imagine that you are in that position in your regular prayer, right? So in this example, for example, if you join the Imam for Dhuhr, and you only caught 1 rakah with the Imam. So this is the example that we're doing, isn't it? We said Isha, it's exactly the same. You catch 1 rakat with the Imam, so the Imam was standing, it was quiet, it was the last one. Then then what happens, just following up. So you must follow so just going up paragraph, my apologies, I missed the first paragraph. You must follow the Imam and everything he does up until the salam. When he says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, at this point, wait until he finishes saying it both sides. Do not follow him in doing so. Rather, you should stand up without saying the salam. Got it, guys? So you do attahiyatu salawatu, you do all of that, Allahumma salli ala, you do all of that. He says salam, you don't say salam. Okay? He completes his salam and you stand up. Now back to the example. Second paragraph, line 2. Join the Imam for Dhuhr. You only caught 1 rakah with the Imam. Stand up as though you are now in your 2nd rakat. Okay? So, like we say, you caught him in the last rakat. It was his last rakat, but that's your 1st rakat. You prayed 1. So all you've got to remember now is that you've prayed 1 rakat. You stand up, I'm on rakat 2. You do Alhamdulillah. Let's say it's Dhuhr and Qul Huwallahu Ahad, you do your ruku, Sami Allah, you do your sajda. And now this is your 2nd rakat. So therefore you do attahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu as normal. You don't do Durood Sharif, Allahumma, you stand up, etc. And you complete rakat 3 and 4. Is that okay, guys? Okay. So this means you're going to sit for the middle of the tashahhud in this rakat, then you're going to stand up for your 3rd and 4th, just like you do normal prayer. Okay. One more example. It's Maghrib time. It's Maghrib time. And you catch the Imam, you catch the Imam in the ruku of his final rakat, right? So it's Maghrib time. You catch the Imam in the ruku of his final rakat. So how many rakat have you prayed with the Imam? So you catch Maghrib, you catch the ruku with the final Imam. A couple of zeros and a couple of ones. Now, come on, guys. You've caught the ruku. You've caught the ruku. Remember the rule? If you catch the ruku, you've caught the rakah. So if you pray it's Maghrib, you've caught the ruku. So therefore, you've prayed 1 rakat with the imam. 1 rakat with the imam. Okay? Is that okay? So remember, you caught the ruku. So now, imam does salam. Salam. You don't do salam. You stand straight up. It's maghrib. You've done your first rakat now. You therefore do your second rakat. Then you stay in tashahhud for the second rakat. Ataytu lillahi salawatu. Then up for your third. I think that's it, guys. Is that okay? So I think a couple of you are struggling a little bit on this, and please do go over it. It's important. And don't feel bad, because lots and lots and lots of people get confused over this. Lots of people get. So try and work it out. If you're not sure, we can spend 10 minutes at the beginning of next week's lesson, inshallah. You know, I'm happy to do that, okay? So, but remember the rukul. Rule. You catch the rukul, you've caught the rakat. Catch the rule, ruku, you've caught the rakat, okay? And then however many rukus that you've catch, they're your first ones, basically, okay? Okay, guys, okay, good. So I hope that's clear, inshallah. Okay, guys, let's carry on. So we've caught that. So now let's move on to part 2 of the lesson. Let's just quickly cover the Islamic New Year, right? So we covered, or Tawqeed covered last time, Muharram. So in the month of Muharram, we had some very important days. So the day of Ashura, which was Saturday yesterday, it's good to fast, very good to fast. Yesterday's forgiveness of a year's sins, inshallah, and then it was good to fast the day before, i.e. Friday, and today as well. So some of you fasting today, mashallah, well done. If you fasted yesterday, that's excellent, mashallah, your age is well done, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to kind of hurry up a bit now because I'm conscious of time. It's 2:31, and I do want to finish on time at 2:40, inshallah. Okay, and so what we might do, okay, so the first day of the month of Muharram is the start of the Islamic New Year. So we're in the month of Muharram. Today is day 12. The first day of the month of Muharram was the Islamic New Year, okay? Compared to Western calendars, the Islamic year goes 11 days or 10 or 11 days backwards every year. So let me explain that. In terms of Western calendars, you have 30 or 31 days in most months, right? But in the Islamic calendar, it's 29 or 30 days. So therefore, obviously, there's going to be less days in the Islamic calendar than there is in the Western stroke Georgian Gregorian calendar. So there's less days. So essentially, every year, the same day goes back 10 days. So the best way to look at it is Ramadan. Imagine Ramadan starts, for example, on the 20th of August. Okay, so got it? 20th of August. Next year, when will Ramadan start approximately? Next year. So Ramadan starts this year, for example, 20th of August. Next year, when will Ramadan start approximately? That's my question. Okay. Well done. 10th, yeah? Because it moves forward 10 days, it moves earlier rather, 10 days, inshallah, and so on and so forth. This is why, you know, sometimes Ramadan is really long in August, obviously, but when it gets to winter, it's really short. Sometimes people don't understand why. It's because every year, Ramadan, as an example, will be 10 days earlier. The marking of the beginning of the new year is usually quiet. We don't have like massive celebrations or anything. The year is called the Hijri calendar. After the Hijrah, which was the event that marked the beginning of the new year. Okay, so like I say, so what signifies the beginning of the Islamic New Year? It's the Hijrah, which was the journey of the Prophet and his companions took, excuse me, to escape from the persecutions from Mecca to Medina. Okay, so this was the Hijrah. So this is what we do basically. So in order to signify that important milestone in Islamic history, our calendar starts from that point. So before that time, the Arabs used to date things by certain events that happened historically, and they used to vary, but the Islamic New Year started from this point. So when the Prophet and his noble companions did the Hijrah, this is where the Islamic calendar begins from, inshallah, okay? And what does Hijrah mean? Hijrah means to go from one place to another. So in that case, the Muslims went from Mecca to, from Medina to Mecca. Sometimes we have to do Hijrah. Sometimes you have to change friends, for example. That's a form of Hijrah. When you leave something bad for something good, you can consider it a form of Hijrah. Sometimes people, even in the UK, there might be a city where there's a really big mosque and there's a strong community and there's lots of Islamic classes and lots of Islamic schools, and you've got another city not far away and there's none of that. Often you see that sometimes families relocate to move to the city where there's greater community, more mosques, more schools for the benefit of their families and their children. That is a form of hijrah, because what the Prophet and his companions did, they did hijrah for the sake of Allah, to improve, not to improve, but to improve the circumstances of their Islam. Okay, that's what hijrah is all about. Okay, so again, it's really important. An Islamic New Year. Okay, but it's marked by the hijrah. Now, we've got kind of 3 slides on the hijrah. I don't want to do them now because I'm just conscious of time, and I just don't think we'll do justice to them in trying to get them through the next 5 or 7 minutes. It wouldn't be fair. I want to so I will cover that next week, inshallah. Okay, but we'll do the pictures, and because we've had a couple of questions, I think it's worth spending a few minutes on those questions and answers, inshallah. I think there'll be some benefit in that to you guys. Okay. So we'll skip part 2, and part 3, the pictures are to do with the hijrah. So we'll do them next time. We'll focus a little bit more on questions, inshallah. Okay, so the questions that we had, and there's one question that I got verbally as well to answer. So let's go through them, inshallah. Okay, so 1 second. Right. So somebody asked, at what age should I spend the night in prayer? Because I need my sleep, and I feel most of the sunnah applies to adults. Okay, so let's break that question down. The sunnah applies to everyone. So for example, walking to the toilet with your left foot and coming out right foot, eating with your right hand. These are things, irrespective of age, we should try and do. But you have got a point. It's from maturity, things like the prayer and fasting, these things really kick in, basically. Okay, so the sunnah, you know, it's encouraged to follow the sunnah at all ages. It's encouraged to follow the sunnah, and Allah is the most merciful, Allah is the most kind, Allah is the most generous, and you'll get the reward for applying sunnahs even though you haven't reached the age of maturity. Okay, but in terms of punishment, then really it's from maturity that you must start praying. So the questioner is asking, at what age should I spend the night in prayer because I need my sleep? That's because we've answered a bit about the sunnah. Okay, now the first thing is that you don't have to pray at night. The only prayer that you have to do at the night stroke morning is the Fajr prayer. So this one you must do, it's compulsory. We've covered that many times by the importance of Salah. But night prayer is the Tahajjud prayer, the night, you know, and you know, what I'm conscious of, don't think that you have to stay awake all the night, and, you know, 10 minutes is sufficient to pray night prayer, especially at your age. So, you know, Fajr time, for example, starts at 4:30. If you're able to wake up at 4:15 and just pray 2 rakats and pray your witr at the end, remember, witr is always the final prayer. Alhamdulillah, you've caught the night prayer. That's fine. Don't make things difficult for yourself. It could be that you pray your Isha prayer at, for example, 10 o'clock, and you can pray your night prayer straight after that. So you pray your 4 farad for Isha, pray your 2 sunnahs, and then you pray 2 rakat with the intention of qiyam or night prayer. That's your night prayer done. Obviously, if you can do 8, it's excellent, mashallah, but 2 is still considered as night prayer. Then you pray your witr and you complete. So night prayer is entirely voluntary and can be for just 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be for the whole night. Okay, so, you know, conscious that we need rest. You know, what's better than praying 4 hours of night prayer is that you pray your Salatul Fajr. Okay, so don't think that I pray 4 hours of night prayer and I miss my Fajr. Oh, that's much better because Fajr is only 5 minutes or 10. No. What is compulsory, and we draw closer to Allah by doing what's compulsory, then what is voluntary. Okay, so, you know, what you have to do is pray your Salatul Fajr. So please make sure you make an effort of that. Farz must do sunnah, really, really strongly encouraged to do that. And the night prayer can be as long and as short as you want, and as often as you are able to do comfortably, without causing hardship to yourself. This is an Islamic principle. You don't cause hardship to yourself. Okay, so I hope that answers it. So it's good. I'm not belittling it. Huge rewards. The hadith that Allah comes to the lowest parts of the heavens in the last third of the night, says, which of my slaves is asking me so I may give him, which of my slaves is seeking forgiveness so I may forgive him. So it's really encouraged. But again, 10 minutes is sufficient at your age, 15 minutes is sufficient, and the fact that you're doing it, facts on your mind, is wonderful. So well done to the questioner. It's a really good question, so it's excellent. Okay, I think linked to this, do I need to fast on Mondays and Thursdays or just for adults? Again, it's not compulsory even for adults to fast Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, so it's important that you understand that. It's encouraged, it's sunnah, it's a lot of reward. You know, Rasulullah used to do it, so but you don't have to. Okay, so do I need to fast? You don't need to fast. let me rephrase that. It's not compulsory as you're to fast, okay? Do you need it? We all need good deeds, as it were. So the more that you can do, the better it is. But again, if you're finding that you can't concentrate at school at all and you're coming really tired and then your teachers have to write home to your parents, then no. Then take a break, perhaps do it in your holidays, etc. Don't do birthdays, maybe do one day. Just kick off in winter time. Don't do, yeah. So, you know, use your hikmah, use your wisdom, okay? And if you're unsure, you know, ask a teacher, inshallah, okay? So I hope that helps. We did have one more question. It's a very good question. I do want to bring it out. Is that one young man asked me, why do we fast one day for Yom al-Arafah and 2 days for the days of Ashura? Okay, so first of all, just making sure you're all still engaged, alhamdulillah. Remind me, why do we fast the day of Arafah? Why do we fast the day of Arafah? And we're going to close now in 5 minutes. I know everyone's tired. It's 2:40. Why do we fast the day of Arafah? That's my first question to you. Why? Why do we fast the day of Arafah? Come on, guys. We know this. Inshallah, we've covered this. One response. Let's have a look. 2 responses. Good. Oh, well done. Because you get 2 years of sins forgiven. Excellent. Excellent. Well done. Important day in the Islamic calendar. Very good. Hassan, stick with that. Why is it an important day in the Islamic calendar? Why? Why? You're absolutely right. It's an important day. It's the best day of the year to fast. I might qualify that slightly. The best days obviously are Ramadan, but I take your point in terms of outside of Ramadan. Sumaya, it helps to clear sins. Yes, absolutely right. Clears 2 years of sins. But I'm sticking with Hassan's point. You've all missed one most important thing about the day of Arafah. It's to do with, it was the day that Allah proved to the angels that humans worship Allah by choice. Yeah, that Allah is very pleased. Allah asked what my servant's doing. Yes, agreed. But I wouldn't quite say proves to the angels that humans worship by choice. I'm not quite sure I'd say that, but you're absolutely right. There's a hadith of that where Allah comes and is really pleased to his slaves. It's part of the 4 holy months. Okay, good guys, but you're missing the most important day. I'm surprised that it is the day of Hajj. Yom al-Arafah, the day of Arafah, is the day of Hajj. Okay, so really, that's the, you know, but I'm not, all your answers are correct. It's amongst the best days to fast. You get 2 years of sins forgiven. All these are absolutely right, guys. That Allah is pleased from the angels. These are all correct. None of you are incorrect, but the crux is that because it's the day of Hajj, basically. Okay, why do we fast the day of Ashura? Why do we fast the day of Ashura? Why do we fast it? So that's good. Why do we fast the day of Ashura? So we talk about Arafah, Ashura. Why do we fast that? Come on. To get rid of sins. Yes, you're right, Shakila. It's a year's sin. Well done, Osman. It's a year's sins forgiven. Excellent. Absolutely right. Yeah, very good. Very good. But what is it? You're absolutely right. So it's forgiveness of sins. What does it signify, though? What happened? I think this was covered last time, right, Tawqir, in the lesson. It's Sunnah. Well done. I'm sure I looked at the slides and Tawqir covered this last time. What happened on that day? Well done, Mustafa. The day Musa alayhi salam had victory. So the day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed Musa alayhi salam, Bani Israel, to escape from Fir'aun, that's the day of Ashura. Okay, so but coming back to Zuhaib's question earlier on. But so Zuhaib, so really, you can only, if you want to, you can only fast one day of Arafah, sorry, Ashura. So like one day of Arafah, one day of Ashura, that's fine. You can get away, it's perfectly fine. But the Jews also used to fast on the day of Ashura because they go back to Prophet Musa. So they used to fast that day. So the Prophet wanted to show that we have more right over Musa. So we're more closer to him. So as well as that day, we're going to do one day extra. And he said, if I live to the year coming, I would fast the 9th as well. Okay, so do you understand? So like I say, it's for day of Ashura as well. It's one day. That's the key thing. So if you're really, really tired, you don't have to do the 9th and the 11th. One is sufficient. One is good. Alhamdulillah. So what I'm saying, you're young as well. If it's too much for you, one is fine. But the sunnah is 2. The sunnah is 2, and the reason why it's 2, like I said, was to show that we have more closeness to Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Good hadith collection, Riyadh al-Salihin, very good. So if you try and read Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, it's excellent, but it's very comprehensive. There's a lot to it, basically. I've tried to put a link on there. If you Google it, Riyadh al-Salihin, Google it on your phones and your laptops, you'll see it, basically. Nice, simple collection. One of the first collections that I read, I still refer to. I think it's really, really, really good. So please do read that, inshallah. Okay, Jazakallah khair for your time. Um, okay, so just I think it's worth because Al-Amin makes a good point. Don't the Sunnis celebrate Ashura because the Prophet's grandson Sheikh Hassan died in battle on that day? Now, that is an important, very important Islamic historical events that happen, and the family of the Prophet ﷺ, are amongst the most important people. So really, there's a whole battle of the day of Karbala takes place. There's a whole benefits that we can derive from that. But that's not the day that we fast. That's important. So we're not belittling that. That was one of the most important and one of the most saddest days in Islamic history. And it shows the bravery of the family of the Prophet ﷺ. And there's many, many great lessons that we can derive from that. And it's a really, really momentous part of Islamic history. But it's important. If you think about it, whoever Al-Amin's phone. Now, the Prophet ﷺ used to fast that day. Okay, we all agree on that. There's no doubt about it. He used to fast on the day of Ashura. But obviously, his grandson passed away after him. Does that make sense? So if his grandson passed away after him, he couldn't have fasted on that day because of that event. Does that make sense? Because that event happens in the future sometimes. And he said why we fast. There's an authentic hadith about that we fast because of Musa alayhi salam's escaping and victory from the Fir'auns. That's the day that we fast. Okay, but that doesn't belittle that in any way the significance of the battle that took place in the important month of the month of Muharram, but it's not the reason why we fast. And I hope that helps. Hassan, you've asked me a question on Umayyad bin Khalaf. We can carry on, but I think I'm just conscious of time now, and I do want to strictly stick to our time limits. I think that's important, so that you all know that we have less than 45 minutes, and we stopped here. So, Jazakallah for your time. I hope you found that beneficial. I certainly did. We'll make sure we put last week's quiz and this week's quiz up shortly. Do enjoy the rest of your bank holiday, and I look forward to seeing you all next week, inshallah. Jazakallah Al-Amin for your nice comment as well, inshallah. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you soon, inshallah.